is the meaning of the sea of glass like crystal before the throne in the book of Revelation? Let's find out. In the book of Revelation, the sea of glass like crystal before God's throne has a significant meaning. It is not made up of water but is associated with fire, and we read that in Revelation 15:2. This connects to God's promise after the flood in Genesis 9:15, where he vowed never to judge the earth with water again. Instead, God's judgment often involves fire, as seen in various Bible stories like the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis 19:24, and other instances where God's fire consumed sinners in the book of Leviticus 10:2 and Numbers 11:1 and 16:35. The fiery nature of the sea of glass symbolizes God's method of judgment. In Daniel 7:9-10, God's throne is described as having fiery flames with a river of fire flowing out. This represents God's purity and judging fire, which removes all evil and sin. The sea of glass collects all this judgment, showing that God's fire consumes everything negative in the universe. Eventually, the sea of fire becomes the lake of fire mentioned in the book of Revelation 20:14, where ultimate judgment takes place. The sea of glass, being like crystal, indicates clarity and transparency. This means that under God's judgment, every negative thing is made clear and visible. There is nothing hidden from God's sight, and his judgment is perfect and just. This crystal clear sea signifies that God's judgment are righteous and true, leaving no room for corruption. The presence of the rainbow around God's throne, as described in Genesis 9:8-17, signifies God's faithfulness to his promise. While the rainbow reminds us of God's covenant not to destroy the earth with the water, the sea of glass crystal emphasizes that God will still judge all the sin and evil with fire. This combination of symbols show that God is both merciful and just, upholding his promise while also ensuring that righteousness prevails. In the essence, the sea of glass like crystal represents the trueness and the transparency of God's judgment. It highlights the shift from water to fire as a means of God's judgment, ensuring that all evil is ultimately dealt with. This serves to reassure believers of God's justice and the certainty that all the wrongdoings will be exposed and judged righteously by God. This powerful symbolism helps believers understand the nature of God's judgment and his unwavering commitment to the righteous.